I just started recording this and I will upload this to the DAO Pioneer channel, so whoever wants to rewatch it or others that want to join in can just hop on. Okay, so I will share my screen and um, see that I've been super stupid with it. I closed, of course, Firefox completely, which was not so clever. Okay, so I think now you should see the dock. Is it big enough? I can enlarge it a little bit. So my thoughts behind this is I posted, I think 3 weeks ago already, the first draft of this in the governance forum. I got some really good feedback there in the discussions, and I also saw that it would make sense to extend this a bit. So my first idea was kind of of course, this is like not something that I invented completely myself. Most of this stuff is based on frameworks that I used in other DAOs. Yeah, I took some stuff from Gitcoin DAO, from Uniswap, from Aave, from all kind of those good working, from Bankless, from all these good working frameworks that I saw out there, and try to pick up kind of things I think will that make the most sense and that should work very good, and created a little like say a little template framework um, that will go through stuff like this simple summary, abstract, the motivation behind the proposal, the exact specification, things like this. And this post will already follow this, let's say this template. Yeah. Important for me is I think that we need to make sure and be clear on in which areas of Shimmer um, we will be able to have community governance, because we are still not at a point like a DeFi protocol that can have actually a DAO governing the protocol, and the community decides everything, and every code change will just happen um, by a vote executed through a smart contract, merged a pull request in GitHub, and then you have the fresh code automatically online by community decision. This is not how things will work out in Shimmer, yeah? Because mainly Shimmer is needed for the engineering team, and so they need to make sure that the purpose of Shimmer for delivering core design and delivering um, assembly tech is in the hands of the EF engineering and the research team. Yeah? And you won't be able to ask the community, hey, should we add this new function, or should we change this parameter in the dust protection to this one? Because that's stuff that needs to be done by engineering to move in a fast way and to get results. Yeah? But a lot of other things are available for governance. We've already stated this, things like the yearly inflation, possible inflation increase. Then if we would have a community treasury there, of course, all the usage of these funds. And so basically we need a structure and we need a defined framework of how actually people that have an idea can get this idea involved and implemented into the protocol. Of course, what you can do is you can always just send a message to Dom and hope that he likes it and moves it forward. But I think there should be a better way. There should be kind of an official, structured and clear defined way for everybody, and a process that leads to a specific outcome if specific conditions are met through this proposal process. And because without this, we actually have no real, the community has no chance actually to really contribute. It can be luck, but I think it needs to be something that is not relying on, yeah, if you have a good connection with anybody from the IF and can propose things in private, and then have hopefully it will get picked up. So this process should happen in the open. It should happen in the governance forum, and it should be visible for everybody, and everybody should be able to contribute and decide on it. Yeah. And so I put this a little bit up here in the abstract and in the motivation part of it. I also lay out the things that I think will make sense in the moment to have community governance. Yeah, this would be decisions about the initial supply of Shimmer. This would be decisions about a potentially max supply, like a hard cap or something like this. Decisions about the yearly inflation rate of Shimmer, because we will have inflation through staking. Maybe also how this inflation, this generated token should be distributed in the network. So actually who should get them? Should it be going only to stakers? What else could we do with this inflation? Then maybe there will be a point where the community wants to reduce the supply, which would mean burning of some Shimmer tokens or something. This can also happen, and this should also be possible in community governance. Anything that relies on community-wide standards, yeah, like naming for NFTs and naming for tokens. I know Moonshot, you are very interested in this point, and everybody actually that is aiming to create a project on Shimmer is very interested in this, having a community agreement or whatever on how things should be named and called or stuff like this. Of course, the whole governance process itself. So whatever we would start with needs to be open to be changed, because we can't imagine that whatever we put up in the beginning will be the one and best solution forever, where we can just stick with. Yeah, so governance rules and governance frameworks, in my opinion, really need to be open for change if we figure out that things are not working as intended, or we figure out, hey, there are better ways to do this, let's change it. So we need to define a way how we can change things. Yeah, then of course all assets that would be owned by the community. Yeah? So if there would be voted on to have a treasury DAO in Shimmer, then of course everything that happens with those tokens allocated to the community will need to go through such a proposal process and a decision process what should be done with it. And yeah, also everything that relies on that would define the structure and the governance mechanism used in this DAO, of course this also needs to be up to community decisions. Yeah? So these are, in the moment, I think, the things when Shimmer starts, these points would be available and open for input and decisions by the community. My question would be for you, do you see other areas, or would you wish to have other areas already in this? Because this is still in discussion. Yeah, I brought this also up internally, and we are currently internally defining what areas of the protocol should really be available for this. But I brought this up, and this is, I think, currently what everybody can agree on. Yeah? But if you guys or anybody has more ideas on this, then really just speak up and propose some ideas. You can just comment in the document or whatever you. If you don't understand things in this, just really leave a comment. And it's actually nice to work in documents like this with comments and replies. So that should be nice. So the proposal life cycle that I would like to implement would be a kind of 3-phase approach. Phase 1 will always be a discussion. A discussion is not really formal. It's just actually a post in the governance forum, like the one that Dom did for the denomination of Shimmer, like the one that Dom did put up now for the EVM validators, like Kapi's proposal. All these things are in a discussion stage in my ideas. Yeah? So discussion means put out an idea, write about what you want to change or what you want to implement, and then be ready to get feedback from the community. And so hopefully community contributors come together and give valuable feedback. And so such a phase 1 discussion proposal will be open and needs to be changed to put comments into it. Yeah. There shouldn't be any time limit or anything for this. This should be really an open thing. This stuff can happen in 1 week. This can also take 3 months until something is enough discussed to move it into what I would call phase 2, temperature check. This is something Uniswap calls it also like that. We can also get different names for stuff like this, but in phase 2, I put it here in this little table. There would be some specific requirements for a proposal to be put in this temperature check phase. Yeah. Of course, it would need to be a post in the forum. It would need to be approved by an admin to put it there, but just via forum admin, but just to check if the formal specifications like following the template and having specific things included in the proposal that I lay out a little bit deeper are part of the proposal. It should be a finalized concept that, like it is, can be put up to a vote. And it should follow a defined structure, like I said. It needs to include a poll in discourse in the forum, yeah, a polling option with either maybe only one option or several options that then would make it. Yeah. This poll should last 7 days, and if this poll shows support for the proposal, then it could be implemented as a vote using Firefly. Yeah. And phase 3 would then be a network-wide vote with the voting system that we currently have, or the voting system that we will have in the future. Yeah, stuff like this can change. But currently it would be voted using Firefly, token-based voting, and some durations I put up. Quite important, after some comments from the community, I put up an idea of a cooldown period of 3 days. So whenever a vote in Firefly is done, there needs to be a waiting period of minimum 3 days to bring up what I describe a little bit lower as an emergency proposal. I'll go through that a little bit later, I think. And yeah, quorum. Also, these are things. I think 5% of all tokens voting is achievable. It might be difficult sometimes for some proposals that are not really popular. So this is also something that I think we need to adjust along the way. I mean, if you see that now we have around nearly 15% of tokens voting for the burn versus build vote, you see that we will not have, we can't think that we will have huge amounts of participation in all governance proposals. So yeah, we'll see if this 5% quorum, or if we can raise it to 15 or whatever. This is something we need to adjust on the way.
Yeah, that's because in like in other systems, right, we've seen where
Yeah.
Who was it that raised their threshold so high? It was 2/3 or something like that. So
It
like
was
they became,
Bankless. It was Bankless
yeah,
actually.
bankless, right? So they basically could not do anything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And you see this in a lot of projects. They started with high ambitions of course, I mean, it's community governance. The whole community has an interest to contribute there and everybody wants to. But no, in the end, you see, if you look in the proposals, if you look in the ongoing votings of all these protocols, the average amount of accounts that vote is between 20 and 50. That's it. That's like,
Yeah.
sadly, I mean, of course they for them voting costs fees sometimes, but they have snapshot with also, most of them move now to snapshot voting where actually you can say it's kind of feeless, but still the contribution is not very high. And so if we would put up now 40% quorum for a governance decision, we might in the end up in a situation where we will never reach any decision because none of our votes would reach this 40%, especially if it's based on token holdings. And we see that 40% of supply is held by exchanges, or around 40%. So we have actually 60% of the circulating supply in the hands of normal people, and yeah, most of them are not interested in following governance decisions. Depending, I mean, if we will only have every 3-4 months one vote, yes, but I,
Hello.
I,
You can't rely on that though, right?
no, you can't
It'll
rely on
go, yeah, it'll go in phase. Like what we've seen elsewhere,
it.
right? Is that you have flurries, right? You kind of have like boring times and nothing happens, and all of a sudden you get like a bunch all at once. What in what I've read. So
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
Any thought to runoff votes? Say, for example, if a vote is very close or nobody gets over 50% of the vote, but say there are two options that
Mm.
they come very close, then
Yeah,
you have a second round of votes.
that's actually a
I
good.
don't know.
That's not a bad idea. So yeah, of course. Here I put up just the usage of the simple majority. So if you have 3 options or 4 options to vote, the one that gets the most votes will be executed. But
50% plus one, right?
50% plus one, or if you have two. But if you have okay, actually in the phase 3, I envision that there's only actually, it's always a binary decision. It's should we implement the proposal like this, like the option that was in phase 2 voted, or shouldn't we do it? Yeah, so the one option will always be, okay, make no changes or implement what is proposed. Yeah, so you would have 50% plus one. Um, but we could also put in something that we say, okay, if we reach 50% plus, nah, maybe this would be something for phase 2, where you have different options then. Yeah, so you have 3 or 4 different options, and one of them gets really only a very close win. Then we would need to make a second poll with only the two winners together. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's cool because
It's called a runoff vote.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
add this. I'll add this here in a. I just make a comment that I
Yeah,
don't forget it.
you are right. I mean, it is a runoff. It just depends. Always the interesting thing is like what's the criteria for the runoff, right? So that's
Yeah, I put this here in a comment in the doc so I don't forget it, and I'll we can add stuff like this. Also, you can, if you have an idea, just comment in the doc with your ideas. What would be good? Um, what would be good matrix for this?
criteria.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5% difference or something like this, and then this would require then to put up a second poll with only the 2 options as a runoff vote. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
cool
The
idea.
also, yeah. That okay.
Mhm.
I was just never mind. Lost my track. Cool. Oh, I remember. I remember. How about the threshold? How about also different types of vote based upon what's like things being decided about
Yeah,
size of money,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
maybe
I think
right.
this is something. Um, I think this would be something if there would be a treasury. The treasury
Mm-hmm.
would then need to define this more specific in their own governance framework. Yeah? So
Okay.
I think I wanted actually I thought about this. Um, it would maybe make sense, not maybe to rely it on money, but maybe to rely it on the how impactful the change would be. Yeah, so that you say, okay, a vote that is just targeting um, something like I put up here, something like, I don't know, um, incentive model for validators or how the staking rewards will be distributed, will maybe not have such a big impact as an supply increase or burning of 10% of the Shimmer supply or something like this. Yeah. So we might want to have, like you said, different criterias for different um, impact of the outcome, something like this. Yeah.
It's so subjective, right? It's so hard
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
put your arms around that.
Yeah. But it's actually a valid point because, like I said, yeah.
It's how you're trying to measure the consequence, right? What's the
Yeah.
consequence on the
Yeah.
organization, right? That's
Yeah.
really the impact it's going to have.
That's the thing. Like I said, like we could really define something that says same like you do it in a treasury. You say, okay, if somebody wants 1 million, um, then we need this and this and this criterias, and we need maybe a minimum quorum of that because
Yeah.
this is a big impact, and we want really this to be a decision of as much as possible people. But if anybody only asks for $20,000, then we don't need to have a big quorum, or we need to use the full force of the governance structure. We could handle this in different. Yeah, I
The
also.
interesting point here is, I think Overclock's here with me too, but we're in that build versus burn group, and we're trying to anticipate a lot of these discussions.
Mhm.
I know right now you're saying, hey, let's leave it off to, if there is a treasury, let's leave it off to the next group, right, to decide that. But I wonder if that's a disservice, if we're on the process of this, if we build into the document that if there is a treasury, this is how it would operate. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yes.
Uh,
This
kind
could
of a
be.
decision tree, right? Like
Yeah,
if it isn't there, then we don't use it. But if it is there, then these
yeah.
are the processes. Because what's going to happen is that you'll get somebody to, if there is a treasury that just shows up, hey, we got a treasury, and then you have to invent the process. Well, then you know what that takes. It takes forever just to develop it. So if we
Yeah.
can help it,
I mean, that's actually a
frame it.
cool idea. If you, I know you're doing amazing stuff with the bridge funding thing. We could implement some of those findings or those structures that you are
Yes,
already
yeah,
building in already here and say, okay, um, for funds usage of a treasury, the following criterias would need to be implemented, blah, 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 and present this already there. And then if this would be something that because my idea would be really to bring this thing up to a vote to the community before Shimmer
sure,
Network launch. And then we would already have also this included in the vote. Um,
yeah.
also have
I,
the information out already what would be plans to handle a treasury.
And then that gives the community opportunity to participate, change, alter, amend, or whatever they want to do, right? So
Yeah.
at least you have a framework to work from rather than starting from just ground zero.
Yeah. I'll just also add this as a comment. No, this I think it's like I said is the more we can. I mean, this will be anyway. This is already a big document, but I think in the end we need a full. This I mean, this also will stuff that needs to be put in the wiki and in the documentation and in GitHub. But we need. I mean, you have it. All protocols that have community governance, they have actually some of them have an own governance wiki like Polkadot because like there's a lot of complex things and all of this needs to be it needs to be written down. Yeah, it doesn't work if we only kind of okay. There's a everybody thinks this is how governance should work. It needs to be really specified. Yeah, there needs to be a technical specification, and there needs to be a full defined framework that takes care of all potential cases that can happen in governance and also potential problems and things like this. So the more we can put into this thing, the more effective governance can work in the end. Because then we can always say, okay, look, guys, we have a defined process for this. Follow it like described here. If we see the process isn't working, we can of course always have a proposal to change a part of the structure and implement different things. Yeah. Cool. That's good ideas actually. So, like I said, this temperature check, a runoff vote would be really cool. The voting thing also there, like basically in the moment based on tokens holdings because we don't have other things available. We could of course also think of once we have other options, then definitely plug in this here and maybe really say, okay, token-based voting only for stuff that is impacting the supply and things like this, but other things that are more related, we can implement different voting methods. Definitely there for stuff
based
like
upon
this.
subject matter. Yeah.
Reputation based upon subject matter, all stuff. Yeah. This should be open for all these changes, but we have to start with something, and the only thing we have in the moment is what we have in Firefly. So I put up some requirements for such a vote that would happen in Firefly. So of course you would have to have a successful poll in the forum. Then you have to put up another post again in the forum. We would always make tags in the forum. Yeah, you can tag fast 1, fast 2, fast 3, so that people see where this is coming from. Then, of course, to have something like this implemented, the proposer will need to create this participation event. Yeah, so the technical side of this stuff before it comes into Firefly will need to be created by the people that create a proposal. Yeah, so you need people that really are able then to write this little piece of code that we use for the nodes and that can be implemented into Firefly. And before such a proposal needs to go live, there needs to be somebody responsible for checking that all this stuff is correct. Yeah, so that the participation event is created, it's already checked and approved in GitHub, the timings and the milestones and all the things are correctly put in. And this I also envision to have, so we should have some admins in the forum, some community admins that do a check before they approve such a vote to go live. Yeah. It needs to contain always the option make no changes. Yeah, so in the end it will be binary. Will mean okay, reduce the yearly Shimmer supply to 5%, or make no changes, keep it like it is. So this will always be binary yes or no options. The duration I think can be a little bit flexible, but I only think about a 7 days counting period will normally be enough. Yeah. I mean, we did now 10 days for the burn versus build vote, but I think in the end, 7 days, we will potentially see the outcome that we have in burn versus build, and we can use the learnings there to implement here also. then, like I said, a relative majority of votes of a quorum of 5%. And this is not as easy to calculate, basically, because this is what we currently see. So if you want to have a 5% quorum, and the way we count currently in Firefly and Hornet is if you have the 7 days counting period, and let's say during this 7 days, a huge chunk of tokens would be for IOTA is we would have tokens migrated. For Shimmer, it could mean that between these 7 days of counting, there will be some inflation happening. Yeah, so there will be some staking rewards distributed. And so this means the circulating supply of Shimmer at the end of the 7 days is different than at the beginning of the 7 days, which would in the end also mean that the participation is a bit different, the percentages. Yeah, so I would say if a vote starts, we need to base all outcomes in the end on the time where the counting starts. Yeah, so we would need to lock this is the supply where the counting starts, and the quorum for the 5% would need to be based on this timestamp and this milestone and this supply, because even there will be some tokens coming, and if it gets really close to being 5% or 5.01 or 4.99, then this few amount of extra minted tokens during the 7 day, they can have an influence. So I think we need to define exactly which matrix we use for the calculations in the end. Yeah. And this is what I say
Yeah,
here.
that's actually quite tricky. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty tricky.
That's yeah, and this is I say we would need to use the milestone that is defined as counting start. Yeah, and so this is the supply. On this supply, all the outcomes should be measured, because everything that comes after is okay. This is a little bit supply that will be distributed to stakers, but actually we want potentially to vote the people before the counting starts, so they have already put up their vote, and then you have this 7 days time where the stuff builds up. But we have to define which metric we will use actually in the end for creating the results. Yeah, and of course, if there is no majority, then this stuff will just be closed and it has failed. Also, there was a really good idea in my first post in the comments about timing and planning of such votes and proposals. Because we see it in others. You mean if you look in the governance forums and in the snapshots they have it's everything all over the place. Yeah, people propose something, and then you have a vote tomorrow, and then 3 days later you have the next vote, and 2 days later you have another soft proposal happening, and so it's really confusing, and it's a tiresome job in some projects to follow governance, because all the time something is happening. You have to read up here, you have to vote then, and there's no structure. And what I really like is how the content creators do it with their voting weekends, where you have really defined days of the month where everybody knows, okay, vote's gonna happen here. And so I would love to implement something similar, and would say that we will have 2 voting periods per month. Yeah, and so that all proposals for phase 2, like the polls in discourse, and then the votes in Firefly will follow such a structure. Yeah? And so I would propose to say that a poll in discourse can only start on the first and the third Monday of a month at a predefined time, and this will then last 7 days. Yeah? Responsible for having this implemented, for starting it, would then be the admin of the forum, that would then at 1 p.m. even doesn't matter if it's coming from the US or something, at 1 p.m. this post will be will be made available for polling, and then we would have 7 days. Yeah, and following this, so this means the next Monday, the poll would be finished, and then we would need to implement a vote in Firefly, and I would assume that this will take, if things are prepared, this would take 2 days to get the voting started. So I propose that we say, okay, every second and every fourth Wednesday of a month at 1 p.m. CST, the vote in Firefly will start. Yeah, so that people have enough time to prepare their notes or to have to prepare this voting event. The IF can upload it in the nodes that are connected with Firefly, and people will be able then to start Wednesday to vote on the thing in Firefly that was proposed the week before in the poll. And we will also always officially announce votes that happen in Firefly from the official Shimmer and potentially also from the IOTA accounts. Yeah, that we really get the word out to the community. Okay, in Wednesday, vote XY is putting up, and please open your Firefly on Wednesday and decide what you want to do. What else? Execution of decisions. We know that once stuff is happening in Firefly, we can't stop it. So there will always be a final result as an outcome of a vote. But what we have seen in some other projects, not very often, but sometimes mistakes happen. Yeah, sometimes during an ongoing vote, people figure out, hey, fuck, did you look in the code? There is this stupid bug introduced, and if we execute this code or if we execute this decision, we will run into serious security issues, or we will just kill the whole protocol, because there is now a case that we didn't take into consideration before, but some clever engineer had found there's a flaw in the thing, and so in some protocols they don't have any way to stop such a thing from executing. And we have seen some DAOs and some DeFi protocols and some treasuries also completely drowned by such a governance bug. It can also be an attack on the other hand. Yeah, it could be an attack vector to implement something like this and to execute some code or to execute some decision that will cause serious issues for the whole protocol. And so I think what we need is like a cooldown phase. Yeah, so if there is a decision, then there will need to be another time where we would have a chance to intervene and to stop things from happening that would really damage the whole protocol. But of course, this is again very difficult, because this can of course be used by those that are against the proposal to say, no, we don't like it, we have to stop. They have to bring up some arguments then and stuff. So I think we also need to define a way of, if there is an emergency situation that we would need to stop a proposal from being executed, we need to define why this should happen and how this should happen. And this is how I brought up this emergency proposal idea here, where we define certain criteria when a proposal would be allowed to brought up to a vote again that would stop another proposal from being implemented. And this would need to happen either in the 7 days during the vote or in the 3 days. Yeah, so let's say a stuff is put up for Firefly for voting, and the next day somebody comes up and says, hey, I just figured out blah blah blah, they did lie to us, they whatever. Yeah, then a process will need to start that would make a counter vote to this, like an emergency proposal. And I describe it here how I think this could work. But it's quite a delicate thing, because we need to make sure that this cannot be exploited by actors or by those that feel, okay, we just don't want stuff to happen, and we for every vote that goes up against our opinion, we put directly up an emergency proposal. Yeah, so it's a difficult topic, and I think maybe best is if you read through this and give your opinions on
That's
stuff
a
here.
really hard
It's a very
area.
hard thing, but it really needs to be something that needs a broad consensus in the community, and so this is why I put up some. So here I also explain some in the rationale why I put up some situation examples here of how this emergency proposal thing could happen. And so I think the most important part is that an emergency proposal can only cancel an already decided vote if the participation in this emergency proposal is higher than the one in the proposal that is voted on. So we see sometimes in the governance of other projects, we have low participation. People are not really interested in deciding everything and doing here and that. But so if there is a proposal that passed the vote with a random participation, and then somebody comes up and says, "Oh, guys, this is really dangerous. I have discovered this and this is a bug, and if this would happen, then this and this would damage the protocol. Let's make an emergency proposal to stop this." Then we need a lot of people to support this proposal, because if then only 10 people vote against it, it's nothing. So it needs to have, in my opinion, minimum more voters and more votes need to be casted for the emergency proposal than for the proposal that it tries to cancel. So we really say, okay, we have a 50% majority of more people that want to stop this from being implemented. And some other criteria are brought up there that should make it not impossible, but also not very easy to revise such governance votes. And also I made some ideas on how to calculate this participation, because with our governance system it's a little bit difficult, because in the end what you will see, you will have counted votes based on milestones, and so a vote that lasts 7 days, even if there's a low participation, will create more counted votes than a vote that only lasts 3 days with a high participation, because every milestone adds more votes and more and more and more and more. And so you actually need to have a calculation of what I call average votes per milestone. That it's actually the only metric that tells you how many token holders or how many tokens have actually really taken part in this proposal and voted for the emergency action. So I describe it all here a bit, and I made some ideas about how we can implement this stuff, and I put in a little glossary that describes some of the terms that I use, and yeah, so.
So when you went through this, did you go see how they did it in other
yes.
DAOs that had the kill, because this is like a kill switch, right?
This is a kill switch, So it's a difficult topic. Like
for sure.
Pure DeFi things don't have stuff like this.
Right.
We also have to see the legal side of things. So let's say a DAO would, because Wyoming, Delaware, and a lot of the US legislations, they require something like this from law. So
actually, they do.
They require that there is a possibility to stop malicious code from being executed, and actually there needs to be minimum one person with the right to push this kill switch and stop execution of a decision if there is figured out that there is a security risk or something. So this is sometimes required by law, and I assume that things like this will they will move into the DAO
Yeah, it's going to
regulations
be forced on
worldwide.
us. It's going to be forced on us.
Gonna be
Yeah.
forced on us. So we anyway have to think about how to implement something like this, and I think
Well,
it's still better to have something like this voted on by the community than just have two people actually
for sure. For
have
sure.
that's it's a difficult topic, and I think we need some discussions around this, how to implement it, and also some thoughts put into potential attack vectors of such a function, because it can be used to to fuck
Yeah, it
with
can be
governance.
weaponized.
Yeah, it can be weaponized. But we need to think about all these things, and so I wanted to bring this up to the group, because I mean, I have no problem in thinking about all this stuff the whole day, but in the end, it should be something that comes with broad consensus in the community. Because if we put this stuff up for vote, there will be, of course, a lot of discussions around this topic, and so I wanted to have this put up in this group here to get some input and also get some support, and that we can really come together and say, okay, this is the proposal of the DAO Pioneers. We have thought about this stuff like a long time, and we think this is the best, in the moment, the best solution to start governance in Shimmer, and to have things in place that will work, but also not overcomplicate everything. But we need some level of complexity here to be prepared for some fuck ups. Let's say it like this.
Yeah, this is very tricky and also very important. So, one thought
Absolutely.
I was just having was changes to these rules itself. Is it would what would the process? Because what'll happen is you'll put this out there and you think, oh no, look at how this blew up.
Yeah.
Well, we need to change the rules. And then I suppose there'd be a vote on that as well, but maybe a little different because, it's like changing the constitution of a country.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think,
And it's also, I think this type of vote is a little bit easier if you get away from token-based voting for overruling, because as we've seen with other, other groups, they've actually, you've had VCs come in and use these tools to get their way.
yes,
to take control.
Yeah. So you could also say that we could, of course, establish something like a committee of the wise, or however you want to call it. Yeah. We could, of course, say, okay, let's give 9 people from the community a responsibility. 9 people that we are really, that everybody trusts, everybody knows. They put their reputation on, and they will only, they will not interact with anything in this governance process, but only if issues are brought to their attention, and they check it and they agree that this is something fucking dangerous that will damage the whole protocol, and then give them the power to veto something like this. Some projects do it like this. Yeah, that's but it's really
a Supreme Court. Supreme Court.
Yeah, something like this. Really, like the only thing those people will have to do would be, okay, there was a decision. They will have to look into the decision if they find any flaws, and even if maybe we could even say, okay, only if they are asked to check by a poll, by whoever, they will check, and somebody have to bring up arguments against this proposal that are only things that have not been possible to know before the vote went live. Yeah? So if somebody just brings up things that have been already known before and have been taken into the account and have been known to the voters, and they decided with their vote, okay, we know somebody has some issues with it, but still, we want it to be implemented, even if there are some other opinions and other feelings about this. Yeah, so this is, I think, a very, very critical thing that needs some clever thoughts, and this is why I
And if
would
you, yeah,
love to get
and
you
for
involved.
whoever that, like, yeah, if you think about the panel, if whatever panel, if there is such panel enacted, you also have to make sure the criteria for the panel members are
Absolutely.
well thought out,
Well thought
right?
out.
Like no conflicts of interest, no association with anything.
Yeah.
If anything like that is found, then and a decision was made, it can be revoked.
Mhm.
All that kind of stuff
All that kind of stuff.
happens,
Legal,
right?
legal things around that also. So that's like a lot. So this is why I thought maybe there's like, don't know, maybe it's something that could be established with a vote. So like in reality, see it like this. I think we will have low participation on a lot of things, and it might work out, and it might be possible to have this thing with, let's say, okay, there is a bug discovered, the whole community gets informed about it, and says, okay, stop, let's not do this now. Stop the execution of the thing. We vote against that. Bang. This might be something, or we will. Yeah, that's really something. I hope we can think about this over the next weeks, and or maybe put also up some different options, and then let the communities decide what they think. Yeah, if we say, okay, there could either be an emergency proposal vote, or there could be an emergency committee that could potentially stop such things. Yeah, so what do you want? Yeah, we can work on both options, and again, then let the token holders decide. Yeah, but I think we need definitely a process of
That's a great idea. It's just
security there.
it's just dicey. It's a
Very
very difficult
dicey.
area. It's a very difficult area.
Yeah, yeah. In the end, I mean, you can also just say, if you, because still we are not a smart contract based protocol. This means in the end, somebody from the IOTA Foundation that has merging rights to the respective GitHub repositories where the code lives needs to execute such a decision.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not possible in a moment to have it like in some smart contracts protocol that there is a vote with already implemented code prepared in GitHub, and if the vote is yes, then the pull request will get merged in GitHub, and then it's live in the master branch and it's in the code. There are still always humans involved in making such a decision, but of course we will also from the IOTA Foundation, we will bind ourselves. So if we put this up as a framework for governance in Shimmer, and we define these are the things that where the community has influence through votes, I'm very hard working of getting a binding statement from the IF board that says, okay, whatever the community decides in such a vote, we bind ourselves to execute it. We need, I think we need something like this, because otherwise this whole governance thing is like, oh yeah, but in the end, if the IOTA Foundation thinks they don't like it, they will not implement it. We don't want such a situation. Yeah? So still, there needs to be somebody pushing some buttons to implement decisions. And this very likely will be people that work and are code owners in the IOTA Foundation. But they will be bound by their contract with the IF. And actually, if the board says, okay, this is the decision, implement it, then it will happen. Yeah, but it's we have to put some thoughts into this whole thing. Yeah.
But it's okay because it can evolve. You know, as long as there's a process for it to evolve, because you can't count on getting it perfect up front.
No, that's it.
So it's most important to nail the process of how it will evolve.
Yeah.
And if you nail that, then you can get out something out there that's as good as you possibly can, and then deal with the inevitable. Oops, look what happened there. We need to change that. Blah blah blah.
And that's why I brought this up. I think Shimmer is the perfect place for this. Yeah. Before we put the huge stake at risk in IOTA itself, we can test all this shit out on Shimmer. Yeah, we need to test it out, and we need to start with something. And my idea was really this should be the something that we start off, and then we will look and we will analyze what is actually happening, and we will adjust stuff along the way with the community, with all stakeholders in the network, and step by step build up such a framework. Then maybe 6 months later, we are ready to port stuff over to the IOTA mainnet, also from this governance ideas. Yeah, so that's I think the starting point that we have to define. We have to define it exactly where is governance possible and how should this governance in those fields work, and how can we change whatever we have decided, and optimize it on the way. If we can get this done here with the DAO Pioneers, that would be super amazing. And we put it up for a vote for the community, and we start Shimmer mainnet with this framework, and then we see how it works. And if it doesn't work, if it's shit, we change it to things that work. That's basically the idea.
That's the one thing we've learned is you got to make it so that you can alter it and change it and make it it's got to be flexible. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then in a year, people will be talking about the Shimmer model and copying it.
Yes.
Because it'll be a standard.
Yeah. Why not? Why? I really like. We have.
I think that'd be great.
We have it all there. We have it all, and we are looking now a year long into the whole thing without doing it ourselves. I don't know if there is any other DAO network that had such a long time of analyzing, looking, but not doing. Like we. Yeah? So this may be even an advantage that we. 6 months ago, I would have made a complete different proposal than this one. I would have. I think most of the stuff I would have not put in there. I would have put in completely different ideas. But yeah, the more time you spend in these things, and the more input you get from all these other projects out there, and that's a lovely thing in Web3, that everything happens in the open. You just have to open a forum, you have to open a Discord server of another project, and you will actually, if you have enough time to read through, you will figure out what are the problems, what are they struggling with, what works great, what is completely shit, and you scratch your head and think, why the hell are they doing this? Haven't they seen like others do it? And mostly it's no, they haven't seen, because once you are involved in a project, you don't have the time. You are so focused on your own thing. You don't have the time to look around and figure out what are others doing. Yeah, and the cool thing is that we are still in the process of figuring out what others are doing, and yeah, we had enough time to look into so many different models that I think all of us have a very, very good knowledge now of how things are done, and we can maybe really make an excellent governance framework for our community out of all this. Yeah, this would be the idea. You all have access to the document. Please comment on it. Would be super cool to get some input from all of you, and yeah, work on this together, and we then maybe
yeah, I have a question. Just thinking about it seems like we got the standard core of people, right, that have been with the Pioneer. There were a couple people that were added on, but I'm just wondering, do we need, if it is a core people, could we possibly change the frequency from every day to maybe every other day or something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, if you guys are, we can meet every second day, every third day, up to you. It's
yeah, I just because we're talking about reviewing that document, making comments, and I, if we're not doing the learning thing, I think maybe we could actually put a day in between to space it out. That might be handy.
Absolutely. For me, very likely cool idea. I can also be there. We will see. Maybe we have still some new people showing up. So
yeah.
maybe we say whoever
The new
wants.
people just can go attend the European meeting.
Yeah, there are quite a lot. So it was, Antonio said it was half new people in the European meeting. So it seems that we have a more interest from new people in DAO from the European time zone. Here I mostly see, like I said, common faces. Um, but I can still be available for all kind of new questions daily, and we maybe
Sure.
say we only make like every second or every third day we put this up into the agenda. Yeah. If we have some updates or new ideas on the doc or the framework, and we mainly work in the doc itself with comments in the document, and you can also use the thread where I just created, and we use this as basic discussion thing around that. And don't need to talk in every meeting about this, and we don't need to have so many meetings also around that, because like basically I wanted to introduce the ideas and then see
That was a really great document.
what
That's
are
really
your
great.
thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
Hey, Holger, did you and Antonio agree to record all of these?
Yes. So I have recorded.
Okay.
I have recorded this meeting. Antonio will also record his meetings, but yesterday he forgot to record the audio, so it will start with today with Antonio's meetings recorded, and so we will put this all up, and then we will have it all collected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool.
And where can we find these recordings?
I will always upload it in our YouTube channel, the DAO Pioneer YouTube channel that we also use for the governance. We actually made a new playlist. Wait, I will put up the link here on YouTube.
Are we going to see anything inappropriate, Holger?
Yeah, for me, uploading shit like this always takes around 3 to 4 hours of my whole internet broadband functionality. So I will, once this is stopped, I will start uploading. So it will be in a couple of hours. It will be online. Wait. So we made a new playlist where we will upload stuff. This is the link. Oh, wait, where are we? I post the link in the DAO Pioneers channel. Yeah, so this is the playlist for all the meetings of 2022. We also have a playlist with the meetings of last year there, and also all the governance meetings. The Thursday meetings are also there in this YouTube channel. Absolutely cool. Good. So
Great. Cool.
I think.
Yeah.
I think this will be. Actually, I'm really looking forward to this. I think this will be fun, and also some intensive discussions along the way. But cool, yeah. It would be great if we can really define our process like this, and then put it up for a vote, and hopefully get it voted on, and then just kind of kickstart Shimmer with some governance framework in place already.
Yep, it'll be important. It'll be great. Okay, so next meeting. So what do we want to do for the next meeting? Are you going to hold it tomorrow, or are you going to put it off to Thursday, or what are you going to do?
What day is it today?
Today's Tuesday here in America.
Wednesday for me. So yeah, let's do the next meeting in two. Do you have an Americas meeting on this week?
No, not this week.
Not
no.
week. Okay, then let's do the next meeting in 2 days. Yeah, let's do the next meeting in 2 days, and then we'll also have the Friday's meeting all together at 3 p.m. Where we'll go through, and we'll see how we structurize the next week then. But I think every second day is fully okay. if we get some more people that are interested in getting some basic introduction things, I'd be happy to put this also up for a meeting every second day, like a interchanging with beginners and advanced stuff, and work through this over the next couple of weeks. So I'm also flexible. We can also do, if we see that a lot of new people come up in 1 or 2 weeks, then we just extend everything and we'll.
Yeah.
That's like, it's nothing is really fixed and bound here in the moment.
Yeah, just play it by ear.
Yep.
Cool.
Lovely. That was fun. Hope to see some comments from you in the doc, or then talk in 2 days what you think about it. Put some thoughts into it would be great. And yeah, see you latest on
All right, man.
Thursday.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
It'll be fun. Thanks. Talk to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.